When I first visited Venezuela a few years back, the first thing I was told was never to film out of the window. You get to the junction or get stuck in traffic, and bikers drive up to your car, take out a gun and rob you of anything you have, even your rings. Look at this policeman patrolling the city, gun in his hand. The road here is the most dangerous place of all. This is what you should never do in Caracas. Stop and sit in your car. In a blink of an eye, you'll be surrounded. Guys with guns will drag you out and they'll take your car. For several years now, Venezuela's been in a presidential crisis. On the one hand, there's Nicolas Maduro, president since the death of Hugo Chavez in 2013. On the other, there's Juan Guaido, who proclaimed himself acting president in 2019. They call him the Obama of Latin America, as they look alike. The US immediately recognized him as legitimate president. Latin America, apart from Bolivia, followed suit. So did the EU. Moreover, the US also granted Guaido access to billions of dollars of Venezuelan foreign assets. He was, after all, in their view, the legitimate president. The UK also gave him all the gold Maduro had moved to London. Maduro was still recognized by Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, and after some rethinking, the EU. Though not before Britain, which to this day sides with Guaido, decided to leave the bloc. As a result, Guaido has, by some estimations, as much as $30 billion worth of assets outside the country. Venezuela needs dollars. To get the dollars, it needs to sell some of its oil. But under the sanctions, nobody will trade with it. And even if they went against the sanctions and bought it, the dollars would immediately get frozen in the US banks. The sad upshot of all this is that Venezuela is running out of medicine and food and much, much more. The underground in Caracas has recently been made free simply because there's no paper for the tickets. There's simply nothing to print them on. The escalators don't work, not only in the underground, all over the country. It almost seems like the escalators here are just for decoration. None of them work. The underground in Caracas is fairly new though. The trains are really modern, even the AC's working. They're quiet both in terms of noise and in terms of people. That isn't that surprising. The French built this system and these trains. Paris famously has one of the most advanced underground systems in the world. There's even a line with driverless trains. But in the last year, the Caracas underground has become a mess. More than half the trains are out of order, the waits are terrible, and at the weekends, stations are closed altogether. Filth, stench, and of course, crime. Do you hear that siren? We wanted to wait for it to end so we could film in silence, but it was going on for more than 20 minutes, and there was no end to it. Some shop nearby was being robbed. People are calmly walking by. It's whatever. This ATM's obviously out of order. Almost all of them are. Again, it's because there's no paper to print on, and most foreign credit cards won't work anyway because of the sanctions. The shortages are everywhere. We're overtaking a car on the road and look at the wheels. There's simply no rubber for him to buy. And this, believe it or not, is an ambulance. This is in Maracaibo. This is how they transport patients, because there are no other cars. They just get a pickup truck, put a bed in, and the patient goes on top, and a guy holding an umbrella to give at least some shade. Here's a pharmacy. The shelves are almost empty. We can see that there's hardly anything, just some detergents. Of the medicines on the shelves, almost all are just alcohol-based liquids for disinfecting wounds. There are solitary bottles of water on the counters, some juice. Look, the shampoos are spread out so that they cover the shelf at least a bit. There's a lot of buzz about toilet paper in Venezuela. Look, there are whole shelves of it. Not at all in short supply, but the price is staggering. $3 to $4 a pack. So, $1 per roll. And that's when more than 50% of Venezuelans live on a minimum wage. This man's protesting against the fact that 30 million Venezuelans live on $1.6 per month. He's being a bit too grim. In 2021, it's actually about $2.5. Monthly wages here look something like this. Junior civil servant up to $10, nurse about $5, physician in a public hospital up to $25, about the same as a school teacher. A salesperson earns much better because they work for the private sector. Very well off by these standards are university professors who earn up to $100. Meanwhile, the prices are 2 to 3 times higher than in Moscow. For example, 1 pound of potatoes costs about $1.5. The prices are in dollars in the shops, although that, strictly speaking, is illegal. This is the alcohol section, no price tags here. It's because these drinks are foreign goods, so they're valued in dollars or euros, and as the rates change all the time, they decided not to bother putting on tags, which would have had to be changed the next day anyway, so you just grab the bottle and ask at the counter. There are no price tags here either. There used to be, but it's been taken off because it's a foreign good from Italy. So it's in euros and the price changes all the time. At the checkout, curiously enough, they ask for your passport number, but you can just say any 7 digits, they don't really care. Foreign currency payments in the shops are a total mess. We want to pay for our food, so we give the girl $11. But she then counts the sum again. No idea why, but they always make the conversions twice, and for some reason, it's always different. So it appears we're a few cents short. Okay then, I give her an extra $1 and tell her to keep the change. But look what she does. She gives the $1 back, and then when she can't find the money on her, she borrows a few bolivars from a colleague to make up for our deficit. Damn. The girl passed up on a whole $1, maybe as much as a week's worth of pay, and paid for us. But this is Venezuelans for you. They'll rob you blind and then turn the corner and give it all to a stranger in need. By the way, the only place in Venezuela where they refused our American dollars was, funnily enough, at the American McDonald's. Do you take dollars? No. Besides, here it's not fast food at all. There's just one guy in the kitchen and nothing's pre-cooked, so you sometimes have to wait 15 to 20 minutes for your meal. This definitely doesn't look like a normal McDonald's. Look, this is supposed to be a Big Mac. But it's visibly like 2 times smaller than usual. Seems like it does have some sort of meat inside, but it's, well, paper thin. And this is something like a quarter pounder with cheese. But inside, only a piece of meat and some onion. Just onion and meat. Signs like these, "No arms allowed inside," are seen in many places here, in restaurants and in malls. But no one pays too much attention. Venezuela has a different kind of fast food. These are the most popular flatbreads in the country. This is real Venezuelan cuisine. It's called arepa. There's meat and avocado, and it's all rolled inside a flatbread. It's really very tasty. With the prices constantly changing, restaurants now have these beautiful special menus. Instead of prices, there are item codes here. Added to it is a simple, freshly printed sheet with this day's pricing. Easy to see, the price tag's been reapplied over the previous one. It used to be a different price, but then the price changed, and they simply put another sticker on top of it. Venezuela has had 6,000% inflation. The value of the national currency is not simply falling, it's crashing. What it means in practice is that in 2012, $1 was equivalent to this 2 Bolivar banknote. In 2019, $1 was valued at 20,000 bolivar, 10,000 times more. After that, these banknotes were recalled and the currency was redenominated, so the dollar was again worth 2 bolivars, but these were the new bolivars. However, by the end of the year, the currency had again fallen to the rate of 20,000 bolivars per dollar. But this 20,000 bolivar banknote actually represents 2 million in old bolivar. But even that's not the end of it. In a year, the dollar was worth 4.5 million bolivar, which translates to 45 billion in old bolivar. In other words, in 1 decade, the Venezuelan currency has collapsed by a factor of 22 billion. Imagine that, simply staggering. By the way, the government's recently again removed the zeros at the end. In an effort to try and hold down the exchange rate, the government restricted or rather almost completely banned the sale of foreign currency. Now it can only be bought on the street from guys like this. What are you guys doing here? You're trading currencies? No, man. 18 months ago, you could have faced jail time for something like this, and you still can. But they mostly let it slide now. It's common knowledge that petrol in Venezuela is practically free. This is how much they charge for 95. So 1 US gallon costs about 8 cents. Some people, if there's no petrol man around when they fill up, just throw the money in here. Let's see. 10 bolivars, another tenner, enough to get a full tank, but so little that no one ever steals it. But there are also these signs everywhere. Sale of fuel in jerry cans, bottles, etc. is prohibited. The problem's quite simple. There's a lot of petrol in Caracas and it's very cheap. But outside Caracas, there's practically no petrol at all. A gallon costs about $4, and that's if you can get it, which isn't easy at all. In short, petrol's dirt cheap in Caracas, but outside the capital, there's almost none. And even in Caracas, it's now just your first 40 gallons this month that costs 8 cents each. Beyond that, a gallon's $2. The queues for fuel are not hours, they're days long. These people even came with their own bedding. Many of them sleep in the shade by their cars. We've been here since 4 a.m. It's now 10, so I've been here for 6 hours now. And still no progress. No, none. What progress? Nobody's getting filled up. This is a bus queue and it's just getting bigger by the second. It's going to be several blocks long. And it's because there are practically no buses left. They're now in short supply. You won't find available bus routes on this stop. The routes change all the time. You have to ask this guy. He's in charge here because on his slip of paper he has the latest timetable. He's also the one who usually collects the fares. Many drivers and conductors these days refuse to carry any money on board. Small wonder. This is what a typical city bus looks like. Very old, of course. Looks a bit like our Paz buses. No AC inside, so it's boiling here, especially considering they cram the place to the brim. The fare in Caracas is 800 bolivars, about 4 cents. Even that's not the worst option. Here's a Venezuelan-style minibus, an old pickup truck loaded with as many people as it can possibly carry. Hopefully it gets you there in the end, but at least it's 3 times cheaper, so everyone's happy. The guys in this tipper truck are packed like sardines. These people trucks unload their cargo at bus stops. I kept expecting to see the back lifted and people dumped like sand, but no. Still, even these trucks are beyond some people's means, so many just have to walk. It's awful, just awful. Our entire oil infrastructure is ruined. Our oil refining is ruined. We had the biggest refiner in the world. It used to serve all our needs. It's come to the point where the world's richest oil country has started importing oil from Iran. These are the employees of the local oil company cheering the first arriving tanker. And it's not just oil refining that has collapsed. When the country's largest hydroelectric power plant broke down, the government blamed it on US hacking. But is it also hacking that's causing old wiring all over the country to catch fire, wires to spark, power lines to go down, and power stations to go up in flames? Venezuela seems to be slowly falling apart, and it's not because of sanctions or not just because of them. In the past 20 years, the government has done little or nothing to upgrade the infrastructure, and so that infrastructure is now starting to die. These notices are now seen in many places. Ladies and gentlemen, water is available only when there is power. So no water during blackouts. If anything does come out of the tap, it's just a small trickle. Because there's no water, there are actual water trucks going around the city. Trucks like these that pump water into houses. But that's just for the rich. Most people get their water from ditches or straight from the drain pipe by the roadside. They're saying it's because there's no power, but how can there be no power in a country with the world's largest oil reserves? Seriously guys, Venezuela's rich not only in oil. There's lots to see here. The world's tallest waterfall, Angel Falls, almost 3,000 feet of falling water dropping over a majestic plateau. Very few people come here due to its inhospitable location. The beaches, smooth sandy transitions between the islands. The best ever fishing on the Orinoco River next to the sand dunes. The best street art in the world, trust me.